Confidence is not a feeling. It is a force, and it is built, not born. Most people are waiting to feel ready before they act, waiting for the perfect moment before they move, waiting for someone to hand them permission to be powerful. But confidence doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't come from being told you're good enough. It comes from the grind, from the work, the effort, the sweat, the decision to show up consistently when no one else does. Confidence is built in silence. It's built in the dark. It's built in the decisions no one applauds. The early morning alarms, the cold showers, the quiet yes to discipline, and the loud no to distraction. It's built when you stop waiting for the world to believe in you and start proving to yourself who you really are. Because true confidence doesn't come from the outside, it is forged on the inside. You don't get confidence by being told you're enough. You get confidence by doing what others won't, by keeping your word to yourself, by becoming someone you respect. That's the difference. That's the edge. And that edge is available to anyone but accessed by very few because it requires radical ownership. Confidence is not a personality trait. It's a reputation, the reputation you have with yourself. If your inner voice can't trust your actions, your confidence will always be fake. If your daily choices contradict your deepest values, your energy will always feel out of sync. If you constantly betray your own word, your self-belief will rot no matter how loud you pretend to be. But here's the beautiful truth. Confidence is not fixed. It's not genetic. It's earned, day by day, decision by decision. It's built by doing the hard things, not for applause, but for alignment. Because alignment is where confidence lives. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are in sync, you feel unstoppable. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are whole. Confidence is the natural byproduct of congruence, of knowing that who you say you are is who you actually are. And you don't need to shout about it, because real confidence is silent. It doesn't need to convince. It simply commands. So how do you build it? You start by mastering your mind because your thoughts are the foundation of everything. Most people live with a hostile internal environment. They speak to themselves with judgment, with doubt, with fear, and then wonder why their actions feel hesitant. You cannot act boldly while thinking like a victim. You cannot move with power while feeding yourself powerlessness. Your internal dialogue is either reinforcing your greatness or reinforcing your limitations. Train your thoughts like you train your body, with repetition, with precision, with intensity. Speak to yourself like someone worth listening to. And not just when you feel strong, especially when you feel weak. That's when it matters most. Because confidence is not built in your highlight reels. It's built in your darkest moments. When you're tired, when you're doubting, when you feel behind. That's where the real version of you gets sculpted. And the voice you choose to listen to in those moments will shape the life you build. So speak strength. Think forward. Flood your mind with declarations that ignite your spirit, not because they sound nice, but because they pull you back into alignment. And from the mind, you move into belief. Not just surface belief, deep belief. Belief that doesn't shake when people question you. Belief that doesn't shrink when failure knocks. Belief that doesn't bend when the process slows down. Because belief is not just a mindset, it is a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows under tension. You want deeper belief? Do what scares you. Take the risk. Make the call. Take the stage. Speak your truth. Try, fail, and try again. Belief grows every time you walk into discomfort and walk out alive. You don't need proof before you believe. You need belief before you find proof. You lead with belief and the world responds. Because the world follows energy, not words. And the most magnetic energy on earth is unapologetic belief in oneself. Not arrogance, not ego, but a calm, grounded knowing. I've done the work. I've faced the fire. I've earned the right to believe in who I am. You want to build unstoppable confidence? Earn it. Build it. Step by step. With practices that align your habits to your highest self. With rituals that remind your nervous system that you are in control. With routines that hardwire certainty into your bones. Because confidence is not hype, it's habit. And the more you live in alignment with your values, the louder your confidence speaks without you saying a word. Because confidence is not volume, it's vibration. It's not in how loud you talk, it's in how clearly you move. A confident person walks differently. They enter a room and bring a frequency that silences noise. Not because they're better than others, but because they've fought for alignment. They've battled their demons and chosen their identity, not borrowed it from culture, not stolen it from trends, but built it in solitude. And to build confidence, you need to build clarity. You cannot be confident about a direction you haven't defined. You cannot act boldly toward a target you haven't marked. Clarity is power. Clarity is speed. Clarity is what turns effort into impact. Most people are uncertain, not because they lack talent, but because they lack vision. They're floating through life, reacting, drifting, hoping, but the confident are builders. They don't wait to be assigned purpose. They declare it. They don't ask for the blueprint. They become the architect. Confidence loves a plan. Not a rigid one, but a compelling one. A vision you wake up for. A mission that electrifies your steps. A target that sharpens your focus and tells your energy exactly where to go. And once you have that, you protect it with ruthless discipline. Because confidence without discipline is a house with no foundation. It might look good, but the moment pressure comes, it crumbles. But when you stack discipline day after day, rep after rep, you create a structure that can't be shaken. Discipline is confidence's twin flame. The two are inseparable. Because you cannot feel confident in a life where you constantly break promises to yourself. You cannot fake self-trust. You must earn it. Discipline is how you earn it. Every time you rise when it's easier to rest. Every time you choose integrity over impulse. Every time you follow through without fanfare. You tell your nervous system, I am who I say I am. And over time, the voice of doubt, it gets drowned out by data, evidence, reps, results. And you no longer try to be confident. You are. It becomes your state, not your performance. Because confidence doesn't mean you think you'll always win. It means you trust yourself to respond, no matter the outcome. That's deeper. That's rooted. That's real. And it bleeds into everything. How you speak, how you walk, how you handle conflict, how you approach love, money, leadership, business. You move from fear-based survival to power-based precision. And that shift is everything. It's the shift from, I hope they like me, to, I hope I honor who I am. From, I don't want to fail, to, I want to find my edge. From, what will they think, to, what does my future self require? Because when you live for the applause, your confidence dies in silence. But when you live for the standard, you don't need the noise. You wake up knowing, I show up because I'm becoming. I do the work because I'm becoming. I face the fear because I'm becoming. And that is unstoppable. Because becoming is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's not a breakthrough. It's a daily bricklaying ritual of who you choose to be when no one's looking, when no one's clapping, when no one's calling your name. That's where confidence is carved. In the quiet reps. In the habits you stack before dawn. In the voice you refuse to betray at midnight. You see, most people confuse confidence with results. They say, I'll feel confident when I get the job, the body, the money, the recognition. But confidence built on outcome is always fragile. Because the moment the outcome shifts, the confidence collapses. But confidence that's built on identity, that lasts. Because it's not, I'm good because I won today. It's, I'm good because I showed up like a champion even when the scoreboard said nothing. That's power. That's maturity. That's internal freedom. Confidence is never about certainty in the environment. It's certainty in your ability to respond to any environment. And how do you build that? You take bold action constantly, repeatedly, without needing certainty before you move. Because action is the antidote to insecurity. Every time you act in alignment with your future identity, you cast a vote for that version of you. And enough votes, that becomes who you are. You become the person who acts not because they feel confident, but because they've decided to move anyway. And that decision to move in the face of fear, to act when it's uncomfortable, that is the birthplace of confidence. That's why confidence doesn't feel like hype. It feels like peace. It's the peace of knowing I can be trusted. I can be counted on. I am becoming someone solid. And when that peace takes root, you stop seeking external validation. You don't need applause. You are the echo. Your life speaks louder than your lips ever could. You move with gravity, with precision, with calm, calculated direction. Because you know who you are, and who you are is under construction, on purpose, by design. So you don't compete, you don't chase, you don't beg, you build, you become, you evolve, regardless of the pace of those around you. And that makes you unstoppable. Because people with real confidence don't need to dominate others, they've already mastered themselves. They've already won the internal war. And when that battle is won, the outside world becomes a playground. The opinions lose weight. The pressure becomes play. The fear becomes a familiar friend that reminds you you're growing again. So you lean in, you don't shrink, you stretch, you step in, you stand taller. Not because you know the outcome, but because you know who you are becoming through the outcome. And when you lead your life from that place, there is no ceiling. There is only the next level, and the next, and the next. Then let's go deeper, because confidence, true confidence, doesn't peak. It expands. It grows in layers. And every new layer demands more truth, more alignment, more intentionality, more depth. Because you can't build unstoppable confidence on surface habits. It's built in the layers beneath, in the standards you set when no one's watching, in the boundaries you enforce when it would be easier to bend, in the discipline you carry when compromise is more convenient. Confidence is born in self-respect, and self-respect isn't given, it's earned. You earn it by saying no to the things that used to own you, by walking away from people who drain your purpose, by choosing structure over stimulation, by prioritizing your vision over your vices. That's how you begin to respect yourself again. That's how you earn back the trust you lost in seasons where you quit on yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the less approval you need from the world. You move from dependence to dominion, from seeking acceptance to setting the standard. You don't follow trends. You become the blueprint. Because the most powerful kind of confidence isn't built through performance. It's built through presence. A presence that radiates from the man or woman who knows. I may not be perfect, but I'm not hiding anymore. I may not be there yet, but I'm on purpose every single day. And that kind of presence can't be faked. You feel it in someone's tone. You see it in their eyes. You sense it in their silence. Because the most confident people rarely need to say much. They speak less because they are more. They don't explain themselves because their life explains it all. So if you want that kind of confidence, stop performing, start becoming, do the work that no one applauds, heal the wounds that no one sees, discipline the habits that no one tracks, stand in front of the mirror and own the parts of you that still make you flinch. Because real confidence isn't loud. It's liberated. It's the freedom of being fully you without needing anyone else's permission. And that level of freedom only comes when you stop betraying yourself. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, every time you scroll through your life instead of stepping into it, every time you hide your truth just to keep the peace, you trade a piece of your confidence for a moment of comfort. But the ones who build unstoppable confidence, they stop making that trade. They walk away from the temporary highs of fitting in for the permanent power of standing tall. They don't fear rejection. They respect themselves too much to conform. Because when you know who you are, you don't need a seat at anyone's table. You bring your own chair. You build your own room. You become your own foundation. And the world will try to test that with rejection, with resistance, with silence, with seasons of invisibility. Good. Let it. Because every test is an opportunity to prove. I don't just believe in myself when things are easy. I believe in myself because I've become someone worth believing in. That's confidence. Not the kind they sell you on social media. The kind you forge in discomfort, in discipline, in devotion to who you know you're called to be. And if you can hold that, if you can live, that there is no environment that can break you, no criticism that can derail you, no failure that can define you, because you've built something deeper than hype. You've built you. Then let's bring the fire all the way through, because this is the final stretch, the place where most stop short. But you finish what you start, because that's what confidence does. It closes the gap between intention and execution, between I should and I did, between maybe someday and I made it real. Confidence is not just the byproduct of belief. It is the consequence of follow-through. It's the result of doing hard things again and again until your nervous system understands. We don't run anymore. We rise. You rise when it's inconvenient. You rise when it's quiet. You rise when you're tired, when you're doubting, when everything in you says, just take it easy. And that moment, that tiny, private, unseen moment, that's where the real version of you is born. Because confidence is not built when it's easy. It's built when it's easier to quit and you still choose to move. That's the gap. That's the edge. That's the standard. And when you live by that standard long enough, you become undeniable. Not because you screamed louder, but because your results started to whisper things your ego never could. Because eventually the habits compound, the mindset compounds, the identity compounds, and what was once forced becomes fluid. You no longer try to be disciplined, you are. You no longer try to believe, you embody belief. You no longer wish you were confident. You've built it into your bloodstream. It's in your walk, in your breath, in your decision-making, in the way you say no to what used to tempt you, in the way you say yes to what you know you must do, even when no one's watching. That is the real work. The hard, quiet, unsexy, consistent, sacred work of becoming someone you admire. And when you admire who you're becoming, you don't need permission. You don't need applause. You don't need external anything, because everything you need is already activated on the inside. You don't feel lost anymore. You don't feel small. You don't feel like you're waiting to be chosen. You have chosen yourself. You have looked your fears in the face and said, you no longer get to drive this life. You've looked at your excuses and said, you've had enough years. I'm taking the wheel now. You've looked at your old identity and said, thank you for the lessons, but I am no longer available for limitation. And now you walk different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. That's what unstoppable confidence creates. A version of you that doesn't shrink when it's dark. A version of you that commands light wherever you go. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you're waiting for someone to push you, look in the mirror. If you're waiting for perfect timing, you've waited long enough. Now is the time. Today is the day. This is the moment you move like someone who knows who they are. You've trained for this. You've suffered for this. You've built the foundation brick by brick. Now go. Build the business. Speak the truth. Lead the people. Live the life. Because you are no longer held back by fear. You are led forward by fire. And that fire, that's not hype. That's not fluff. That is confidence you earned. So, hold your head high. Move with power. Speak with precision. And live with so much conviction that your very presence gives others permission to believe again. Because you are the example now. And the world will rise to meet the standard you refuse to lower. You were not born to be safe. You were not born to stay warm, tucked away in routines, dulled by predictability, numbed by comfort. You were not designed to live the same day, week, month, year over and over again, pretending it's a life. Something in your soul knows this, knows that comfort is a lie, a seductive, silent poison that seeps into the corners of your ambition, convincing you that fine is good enough, that maybe later is a strategy, that I'm not ready is a reason. But deep down, there's a voice that knows. It whispers in the moments of stillness. It cries when you're alone. It aches when you settle. That voice is your potential suffocating inside your comfort zone. Because here's the brutal truth. Your comfort zone is not a sanctuary. It's a cage. Decorated nicely, sure, with familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and just enough success to keep you from chasing more. But a cage, nonetheless. And every time you choose what's comfortable over what's necessary, that cage tightens. Your energy shrinks. Your vision dims. Your fire fades. Until one day you look around and realize you've been walking in circles, moving but not evolving, surviving but not living. That's what comfort does. It steals your urgency. It robs you of risk. It replaces boldness with boredom and turns your future into a loop of someday. But someday is not a day on the calendar. It's a lie the comfort zone sold you to keep you tame. And tame is not your nature. You were born to climb, to conquer, to stretch, to become. And becoming never happens in comfort. It happens in collision, with fear, with resistance, with uncertainty. That's where you grow. That's where you build resilience. That's where your real life begins. Growth is never found in ease. It's found at the edge. At the moment your mind screams, turn back, and your soul whispers, go forward. The comfort zone wants you to listen to fear, to turn down the heat, to take the deal, to lower the standard. But the moment you do, you sell your greatness for crumbs. You see, every time you choose comfort, you reinforce weakness. You teach your mind that temporary relief is more valuable than long-term power. And the more you indulge that pattern, the more you erode your edge. Until boldness feels foreign, risk feels reckless, and change feels impossible. But the truth? Change is your only way out. You must confront the comfort, burn it down, stand in its ashes, and rebuild yourself in the image of someone unavailable for mediocrity. That is the standard. That is the requirement. That is the cost. No one drifts into greatness. No one slides into purpose. You don't stumble into strength. You forge it through fire, through failure, through the stretch of discomfort that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. But not you, not anymore, because your potential is screaming from inside that comfort zone you've called home. It's screaming to be tested, to be tempered, to be unleashed. But that doesn't happen when things feel good. It happens when you do what's hard again and again and again, until the hard becomes normal, until pressure becomes power, until you look around and realize you're not the same. That's what discomfort does. It doesn't destroy you. It discovers you. It pulls back the layers of complacency. It reveals the grit, the hunger, the wildness you buried beneath safety and smiles. Discomfort reminds you you're still alive, that the pulse in your chest is not just for survival, it's for impact. You are not put here to live a neutral life. You are a storm wrapped in skin, and the comfort zone is too small for a force like you. But to reclaim that truth, you must unlearn the lies. The lie that you need permission. The lie that you need to feel ready. The lie that fear means stop. The lie that if it's hard, it's wrong. No, hard is not wrong. Hard is required. Because everything worthwhile is on the other side of hard. And comfort will never take you there. Only courage will. And courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward despite it. To feel the tremble and still take the step. To hear the voice of doubt and still raise your standard. To stand in the fire and say, let it burn. I am becoming. You want change? Earn it. You want power? Claim it. You want freedom? Fight for it. Because freedom is not found in the easy path. It is found when you master the hard one. When you discipline your body. When you sharpen your mind. When you lean into pain and make it your ally, not your enemy. Most people run from pain. The few? They run toward it because they know pain has a purpose. It teaches, it tests, it toughens, and every scar becomes a signature of strength. But you don't earn that in the comfort zone. You earn that in the trenches, in the cold mornings, in the late nights, in the moments where quitting seems logical and you keep going anyway. That's where transformation lives. In your choice to stay uncomfortable long enough to grow. Because make no mistake, comfort is killing more dreams than failure ever could. Failure teaches. Comfort traps. Failure reveals your gaps. Comfort hides them behind busy schedules and shallow goals. And worst of all, comfort doesn't come all at once. It creeps. One skipped workout. One delayed conversation. One more day of playing small. And slowly, your edge dulls. Your urgency fades. Your fire turns to smoke. Until you're just another person who had potential, but never pursued it. But not you. Not anymore. Because you've woken up to the truth. The comfort zone is not your friend, it is your enemy in disguise. A prison dressed as peace. A coffin that still lets you breathe. A soft death. And you're done dying slowly. From this day forward, you choose discomfort. Not recklessness, not chaos, but the controlled discomfort of growth, the stretch of new standards, the sting of self-honesty, the weight of self-respect. And when it hurts, good. That's the signal. That's the sign. That's the place where most turn back and you lean in. Because you're not here to repeat years. You're here to redefine them. And it starts with one bold decision. Step out of the comfort zone and into your calling. Because once you step into your calling, everything changes. The air feels different. The days feel sharper. Time stops slipping through your fingers and starts working for you. You walk differently. You speak with more weight. You stop asking for direction and start creating it. You don't need a map anymore. You become the map. Because once you leave your comfort zone, you stop following the crowd and start following your conviction. And that shift, that invisible internal revolution, changes your destiny. Comfort made you predictable. Purpose makes you dangerous. And when you become dangerous, the world responds. Not instantly, not with fanfare, but with resistance. Because when you leave the pack, when you rise above mediocrity, when you dare to grow, life pushes back. The wind howls. The road narrows. The light dims. That's not a sign to retreat. That's your invitation to rise. You don't find your strength when it's easy. You find it when there's every reason to stop, and you don't. That's the moment you level up. That's where you meet the version of yourself you were born to become, the one comfort tried to bury. He's not scared. She's not timid. They don't flinch because they've been forged in the flames of effort, repetition, resolve. The kind of resolve that doesn't just touch your habits, it transforms your identity. You no longer try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You no longer hope to be consistent. You live consistent. You no longer wish for more. You become more. And the moment you become more, your life expands to meet you. Doors open that didn't exist before. Opportunities find you that never even knew your name. Not because you were lucky, because you were ready. And readiness doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confrontation with your laziness, your excuses, your old story. And that story, it's time to rewrite it. Burn the chapter where you play small. Tear out the pages where you shrink. Delete the lines that say, "This is just who I am." Because that's not who you are. That's who you settled for under the spell of comfort. But now you see it. Now you know. And once you know, you can't unknow. You can't go back to pretending comfort is peace. You can't sit still and call it joy. You can't fake fulfillment with filtered photos and fleeting likes. Because once your potential has been awakened, silence is suffering. Stagnation is pain. And comfort becomes unbearable. Because now you've tasted discomfort with purpose and nothing else satisfies. Now you've seen what you're capable of when you go past the threshold. Now you've met the version of you who doesn't fold, doesn't flinch, doesn't fade. And that version is waiting every day, just beyond what's easy. So when the alarm rings, answer. When the urge to quit creeps in, resist. When the old voice says, "Take it easy, go harder," not because you have to, but because you get to. You get to train while others talk. You get to learn while others scroll. You get to build while others beg. You get to become while others just survive. Because discomfort is no longer your enemy. It's your invitation, your teacher, your proof that you're alive, that you're ready, that you're on the right path. And the right path, it's never easy. It's never obvious. And it's never inside the comfort zone. So step out, step forward, step through the fear, the fatigue, the uncertainty. Because everything you want is out there. But you'll only find it when you decide to leave where you are and never look back. Because this is the part where most turn around. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught how strong they could be. You don't rise by waiting for motivation. You rise by walking when your legs ache. You rise by building when your hands are raw. You rise by believing when your mind screams otherwise. That's how you escape the gravitational pull of the comfort zone, by creating momentum in the moments where everything inside you says stop. And the comfort zone will beg. It will plead. Just one more day. One more break. One more excuse. But every time you give in, you trade your future for a feeling. And feelings fade. But discipline builds. One brick at a time. One decision at a time. One moment of defiance against the easy way. And if you keep stacking, you build an identity that doesn't bend, a spirit that doesn't stall, a mind that moves forward by default, because you've burned the bridge behind you. And what's ahead is only earned in discomfort. Don't wait for clarity. Clarity comes after action. Don't wait for confidence. Confidence is built by doing scared. And don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't exist. What does exist is this moment, right now. And this moment is a crossroads. One road is paved with everything you already know. It's quiet, familiar, safe. The other road, it's steep, uncertain, rough, but it leads to more purpose, more growth, more freedom. More of you, the real you, the one buried beneath years of tolerating good enough. You won't find that person inside your comfort zone. You'll find them when you show up tired, when you push through failure, when you break old patterns even when they scream to survive. And slowly, you'll realize this isn't about achievement. It's about alignment. Because when you break free from comfort, you align with your deeper self. The one who craves challenge, the one who thrives under pressure, the one who's hungry for greatness, not for applause, but for meaning. So forget motivation, choose movement. Forget safety, choose significance. And if you're waiting for someone to give you permission, here it is. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to stop tolerating average. You are allowed to outgrow what used to feel like enough, because you weren't born for a lukewarm life. You were born to lead, to rise, to break generational cycles and redefine what's possible. But that only happens when you leave the comfort zone and never make it your home again. So burn the excuses. Burn the backup plans. Burn the false belief that staying safe is the same as staying alive. And move. Now, today, even if you crawl, even if you stumble, move. Because every step forward in discomfort is a declaration that you are done shrinking. And the world doesn't respond to potential. It responds to proof. Then listen close, because this is where you become unstoppable. Not because the path got easier, but because you got harder to break. You've walked through the fear. You've pushed past the doubt. And now there's no turning back, because your comfort zone is no longer an option. It doesn't fit you anymore. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't change you. And if it doesn't change you, it's killing you. Because growth is life. Progress is purpose. And you weren't made to sit still while the world spins forward. So from this moment forward, you live by a new rule. If it's comfortable, it's not enough. You seek what stretches you. You chase what scares you. You embrace what forces you to evolve. Because you've realized the pain of growth is nothing compared to the agony of regret. You've seen what staying safe costs. Your fire, your voice, your edge. You've tasted what almost feels like, and you'll never settle for it again. And now, the hunger is real. Not for more things, but for more of you. More focus, more purpose, more intensity behind your actions. More alignment between who you are and what you do every single day. That alignment is power. Because when your actions echo your identity, you stop needing motivation. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You wake up driven to do it. You wake up possessed not by fear, but by a mission that burns hotter than your excuses. And yes, people will say you're obsessed. Let them. Obsession isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Because the world was never changed by balanced, lukewarm people. It was changed by the obsessed, the focused, the unreasonable. The ones who looked at the comfort zone and said, that's not where legacies are built. Legacies are built in the stretch, in the space between who you were and who you're becoming, in the silence of hard decisions made with no applause, in the trenches of repetition where most quit and you keep showing up. Because now you don't need to see the finish line. You just need to take the next step, and the next, and the next. And soon, you'll look back and realize your comfort zone isn't just behind you, it's beneath you. Because every time you chose discomfort, you rose. Every time you chose challenge, you evolved. Every time you chose the path that scared you, you stepped into who you were born to be. And now, nothing can stop the momentum you've created. Because you've become the kind of person who doesn't fear pressure. You become pressure. Then we go deeper, because pressure is no longer your enemy. It's your proof. Proof that you're in the right place. Proof that you're not hiding anymore. Proof that you're standing on the edge of everything you've ever wanted, and now it's on you to lean in. No backup plan. No safety net. Just fire in your gut and a decision to never go back. You don't negotiate with your old self anymore. You don't explain your standards. You don't apologize for being intense, focused, or obsessed with your evolution. Because you understand now the version of you who lives in comfort is the version who dies with potential still inside them. And that's unacceptable. So you keep climbing, even when it's steep, even when it's cold, even when the world around you says, why are you trying so hard? Because you know exactly why. You're not doing this for likes. You're not doing this for followers. You're not doing this for validation. You're doing this because you refuse to live a life that's less than what you're capable of. You're doing this for the future you, the one who wakes up with peace because you never gave up, the one who walks into rooms with presence because you earned your confidence. The one who doesn't flinch when life throws fire because you've walked through it already. And now, nothing surprises you. Nothing shakes you. You've trained for the storm, and you've become the storm. Because every time you left the comfort zone, you weren't just chasing something. You were changing into something. A force, a standard, a walking embodiment of what's possible when a human being chooses courage over convenience consistently. That consistency, it's sacred, not glamorous, not sexy, but sacred. And you protect it like oxygen. You defend your habits. You guard your rituals. Because they aren't just tasks, they are temples. They are where you reconnect with who you are and who you refuse to be again. You are not here to flirt with potential. You are here to fulfill it in full. And every ounce of that fulfillment lives outside the comfort zone. So burn the bridge. Leave behind the excuses, the doubt, the fantasy that there's a painless path. There is no such thing. There's only pain with purpose, or pain with regret. And you are not here for regret. You are here for rebirth, for rise, for recognition. This isn't about changing your habits for a week. This is about becoming someone you never again have to apologize for. Someone who is so disciplined, focused, and intentional that even life itself adjusts in your presence. Because when you leave your comfort zone long enough, you don't just change your life. You change who you are. Then brace yourself, because this is where transformation becomes inevitable. You see, there comes a point on this path where discipline turns into devotion, where discomfort no longer feels like pain, it feels like proof. Proof that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're no longer the same person who walked into the fire. At first, leaving the comfort zone feels like tearing something apart. But what you're really doing is building something stronger, something unbreakable, something the old you could barely imagine, and that something is you, reborn through resistance. Because resistance isn't here to stop you. It's here to sharpen you, to reveal to you just how much you've been leaving on the table, how much strength was dormant, how much power was hidden beneath convenience and excuses. The longer you live in the stretch, the stronger you get. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You stop asking, when will this get easier? And start declaring, I'm getting stronger. That shift is everything. Because the world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs leaders of resilience. People who have tasted the fire and chosen to keep walking. People who don't just talk about goals, they become the kind of person who achieves them. And here's what they never tell you. You don't attract success by chasing it. You attract success by matching it in standards, in discipline, in identity. You want to live like a lion? Then stop walking like a lamb. Stop waking up with the mindset of survival. Start rising with the resolve of someone who refuses to die full of what ifs. You are not a machine. You are not an algorithm. You are not here to live the same scripted life that billions have already accepted. You are a force of will. You are a spark of something divine. If you dare to let it burn long enough to shape you. And yes, it will cost you. Comfort, approval, familiarity, old relationships that want the old version of you to stay. Let them go. Let them stay behind in the life you've already outgrown. Because the life you're building requires room, and not everything and everyone can come with you. You will be misunderstood. People will call you too intense, too focused, too serious. Let them, because one day those same people will say you're lucky, that things just worked out for you, that you always had it in you. They'll never see the price you paid, but you will feel the freedom you earned. And that freedom, it's found not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of purpose. When you know who you are, where you're going, and what you're willing to do to get there, you become dangerously clear. You become immune to distraction, resilient to resistance, and alive in a way most people will never understand, because most people choose to survive. But you chose to become. Then let's keep going, because we're nowhere near done evolving. You see, when you finally choose becoming over belonging, discipline over distraction, and growth over comfort, something unlocks inside you. A sense of alignment that doesn't come from doing what's popular. It comes from doing what's right for you, for your path, for the legacy you refuse to leave undone. And that alignment, it's magnetic. It starts attracting people, opportunities, moments not because you're chasing them, but because you're in integrity. The internal war is over. You're no longer pulled between who you are and who you pretend to be. You've become real. You stop outsourcing your identity to opinions. You stop watering down your potential to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for your fire. Because now, you understand your job is not to be liked. Your job is to be lit, to burn so bright with vision, clarity, discipline, and purpose that everything not meant for your life burns away with it. And yes, it's lonely sometimes. But you'd rather walk alone toward your calling than be surrounded while you shrink. That's the sacrifice. That's the price. Comfort asks you to stay invisible. Growth demands that you stand out. And standing out isn't about being loud. It's about being undeniable. A presence that doesn't beg for attention, it commands respect. Because you've earned it. Through the early mornings, when you wanted to sleep. Through the silence where no one cheered you on. Through the nights when the only voice pushing you was your own. That voice, the one that kept whispering, "Keep going," is now your anthem. And you've built something far more powerful than motivation. You've built momentum. Momentum doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't wait for the perfect time. It's a force that feeds itself, and it's only fed by consistency. You become the kind of person who doesn't stop because it's hard. You stop when it's done. That shift in identity changes everything. You walk into the gym differently. You sit at your desk differently. You speak to others differently because you know who you are now. You've been forged, tested, tempered, and your comfort zone? It's not even a memory anymore. It's just a warning label you'll use to teach others what not to become. Because now you live with conviction. And conviction is rare. It cuts through the noise. It silences self-doubt. It wakes you up before the alarm. It pulls you forward when everything says, rest. Conviction doesn't come from talent. It comes from alignment, discipline, and action. And you are now a living example of what's possible when a human being stops running from discomfort and starts running toward it. Because we're not done until you feel it in your bones. Until the old version of you is just a shadow you outpaced. Until every excuse, every delay, every maybe later melts under the weight of your new standard. Because that's what this really is, a standard. Not a phase, not a goal, not a 30-day challenge. This is the line in the sand that says, I will never again live below my capacity. This is the moment where you stop tolerating your potential and you demand it. And when that becomes your standard, life shifts. The way you walk into rooms shifts. The way people look at you shifts. The way you look at yourself in the mirror changes forever. You no longer see someone trying. You see someone becoming. Someone who doesn't chase energy, they create it. Someone who doesn't need reminders because their vision wakes them up. Someone who no longer needs validation because their life is built on verification. You can fake effort. You can fake success, but you can't fake discipline. And you can't fake becoming. The world may not always see your hours in the dark, your sacrifices, your self-control, but one day they'll feel the result of them. They'll feel it in your words, in your actions, in the impact you leave behind, and they'll wonder how you did it. But the real ones know. They'll see it in your eyes, the fire of someone who left the comfort zone and never looked back, who chose growth when it was ugly, who chose action when it was lonely, who chose vision over validation. That's who you are now, not because you said it, because you proved it, because you earned it, because you became it. And that becoming is permanent. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel the truth of what you're capable of. You can't crawl back into the small life you used to tolerate. because you were born for more and now you know it. The only question that remains is, will you keep walking forward until the world has no choice but to move with you? Because the momentum is here. The standard is set. The comfort zone is gone. Now build. Now rise. Now lead. Because the version of you the world needs is already on the way. Then stand tall, because this is where it ends and where everything begins. Right here, right now. No more waiting. No more hiding. No more someday, because someday is the language of the weak. And you speak in declarations now. You've burned the comfort zone behind you. There's no turning back. You've stepped into the fire, and the fire didn't consume you, it clarified you. It revealed the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to settle for a life that feels fine. You were meant to build a life that roars, and that life does not live in your comfort zone. It lives at the edge. It lives in the stretch. It lives in the places that make your voice shake and your soul awaken. You want to know who you are? Don't look for it in your routine. Don't look for it in your possessions. Don't look for it in other people's praise. Look for it in the place you're afraid to go. That next rep, that hard conversation, that new discipline, that decision to rise when everything says stay down. Because that's you, the real you, not the one comfort built, the one courage unleashes. And once you meet that version of you, even for a second, you will never again accept anything less, because the fire has been lit. And now you burn with purpose. No more hesitation, no more doubt, no more waiting for permission. You are the permission. You are the momentum. You are the power. So go, take the shot, launch the project, start the thing, end the thing, speak the truth, build the life, and never, never return to the cage of comfort again. You've outgrown it. You've outpaced it. You've outlived it. Now live like it. Build like it. Speak like it. Walk like it. Because you are no longer a prisoner of comfort. You are a force of purpose. And the world will feel you now